I'm focused on his spirit cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost was with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about some interesting clips from this religious liberty committee meeting that was going on the other day, and Seth Dillion was on it, and Ryan Anderson and some other folks, but there was one woman who apparently is some kind of Candace Owens super fan, who I guess claims that she watches her every day, and she's never said anything that was anti-Semitic, but she was grilling Seth Dillon and some others about Zionism and the definition of anti-Semitism, and if you can criticize Israel while they're having conversations about American Jewish people who've been, denied basic sort of rights, like on college campuses and other sorts of things like that. But it's just shifting back to Zionism and Israel and all those sorts of things. And so people have been talking about it. And so she's like, "Oh, people are coming against me." I'm like, "Well, you're saying crazy kind of stuff, and so why wouldn't people be talking about you?" But she's claiming to be a victim, and her meter meter is rising on social media on X. So I had heard that she had like 4,000 followers before, and now she's passed like the 20,000 mark. So very interesting stuff. Megyn Kelly also was on Piers Morgan the other day and said something that was a little puzzling. So we'll be looking at that as well and some other things. But before we jump into it all, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check a different content website, articles, reviews, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation on the website because it just costs a stream. Run my site, all the good stuff. You guys can support it very much. Appreciate it and appreciate you guys. You guys can also check out different merch that's available on the site as well, and like different t-shirts and mugs and so on. And I do also have different books you guys can check out. I have lots, actually. Most of them are fiction, but I do have some non-fiction books, like Of Course God is Blatantly Against Abortion. I got that poster behind me, the little hand of, with the God hand reaching out to the little baby. Someone say, "Hey girl, hope you're doing well." Thank you, Tina. I am doing good. I'm actually like in a really good writing mood. And so I'm grateful for that because I feel like I'm kind of on a roll right now. And this time last year, like I've talked about how it was just really hard to write last year. I still wrote, like still made myself do it, but it was just I said like trying to swim through mud, and with like just dealing with grief and loss and other things like that. But I'm in a good place, good space, headspace and stuff now and today, so I'm jazzed. I was I was just writing. I'm like, I gotta do my show. So I'm glad to be with you guys here on today. So thank you for asking. Thank you for asking. And I'm well. I didn't have the cold for long when I was kind of congested. My sister said she thought it might be just allergies and not actually like a head cold, but all is well. Hope all is well for you guys. Thank you to those of you who watch live and those who watch back later. Some of you watch on YouTube, some of you watch on Facebook. Very few sometimes pop into Twitch every so often, but I can see your comments. I know you guys can't all see each other and so on, but I do thank you for being out there. So the other day there was a gathering of people on a religious liberty committee that the Trump administration put together. And there was an interesting person who was on the committee. Her name is Carrie Pragine Bowler. Now, Carrie showed up. It's funny because there's all these questions about Israel and stuff, but people did note that she did show up with a particular pin on her lapel. So doing some stuff here, Palestinian flag there. So which if that's what she wants to do, that's what she wants to do. That's fine. But some of her questions and commentary was very interesting. And she was very much, I'm an anti-Zionist. Catholics are anti-Zionist. If you say, are you saying that all Catholics are anti-Semites because we don't support Zionism? And she would bring up religion and different religious theological perspectives of the role of Israel today and in the future and so on. And not everybody agrees with those perspectives, but that's not the same thing as like being a Zionist. If you are a Zionist, you believe that the Jewish people have a right to self-determination in Israel, which is basically saying that you believe that Israel, the nation itself, has a right to exist. It doesn't mean that you agree with everything that they do. That doesn't mean you have to agree with the war that just went on, or Bibi Netanyahu, or like his party, or like the different policies that they have. You know, you cannot like the air quality there, whatever you like, but to say that you don't believe that they have the right to exist, and people get suspicious when you're like, okay, out of all the countries that exist, it's that one that you oppose, as opposed to all these other nations that are Christian or Muslim, like, but you're singling out Israel. I wonder why there's the double standard. And then they lead to other sort of questions. And that's why people start assuming that one is, you know, anti-Semitic. But the first clip that I saw of all this was when she claimed that Candace Owens never said any sort of anti-Semitic stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and start with that particular exchange. Someone said, "What do I think about Candace Owens?" I don't like her, and I haven't liked her for a long time. I've got a lot of videos. I've got videos and articles, and I've been talking about her for some years. I think she's a very much a Jeremy Boring said that he had a conversation with Candace Owens, and he said, "What do you believe?" And she said, "I believe what the people believe." And she said that multiple times, and she's even like said it not so many words, like even on her own show, like her philosophy is what the people believe. And I believe she says things for audience capture. I don't know how crazy she is or how much, like, I think she does evil things. I don't some people are like, she lost her mind after she had her babies. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if I want to go that far, but I think she says a lot of things for different audience capture. And I think that may have always been the case. When she came on the scene, because she was on the left. She was pretty far left. She had her 180 website, or, you know, where she was writing like left-wing articles and really inflammatory, very out there sort of articles about how affairs are romantic and other things like that. And she had some political stuff as well, but she ended up getting into a lot of backlash because of her doxing website that she was pushing. And then she ended up rebranding herself, and she had a video that was like, "I don't care about Charlottesville, the KKK, and blah, blah, blah." And she was a Black woman who was like really pushing up against the media and racism and all this other kind of stuff. And frankly, I think it was something that a lot of people on the right wanted to hear. And a lot of people flocked to her very quickly. Dave Rubin picked her up, and then Dave Rubin introduced her to Charlie Kirk, and Charlie Kirk very quickly hired her. And she worked with Charlie in Turning Point and PragerU, and bounced around. And she would say, when she was with PragerU, she was, you know, saying very pro-Israel stuff, and she was saying, you know, a lot of just typical sort of things that you would say on the right. And she really pushed she talked about race and stuff a lot, which is funny because she accused Jeremy Boring of being racist for hiring her for talking about the George Floyd stuff, when she was saying that before she got on with the Daily Wire, and she made, a focus of racial issues just part of her shtick. And Jeremy Boring, when he actually talked about her, he talked about how talented she was, how charismatic she was, and how she did better commentary on that particular subject than anybody. I thought it was praise that was not that deserving, but he gave her loads of praise, and then she watched that clip and said, "Oh my gosh, Jeremy Boring is racist because they hired a black woman to talk about black people." When, I wouldn't define talking about BLM as talking about black people. It's an organization that has this Marxist ideology and all this other kind of stuff. And she didn't denounce the things that she said in the past about it. She just wanted to call Jeremy Boring racist because they're at odds. So when she had her beef with the Daily Wire, and ended up getting canned, she just started saying, well, she was saying more radical things that they were picking up on. I wonder if she kind of wanted to get terminated, since her lawyer had it in her contract that if she said anti-Semitic things that a reasonable person would view as anti-Semitic, she could be forced out. And so I wonder if they kind of built in a bomb that could in her contract that could be detonated. But really, since that time, she on her own, her content got more radical. And of course, since Charlie was killed, it went super off the rails. But I have been chronicling a lot of content about Candace Owens for a while. So you asked, there's my opinion. And I think she says things that will get her audience capture. What I don't understand is why so many people are captured. Because I would point out things about her, and I'd be like, okay, well, where does she lie? And I'll point out a very specific lie. I'm like, okay, let's address this particular lie. I'm like, okay, well, even if she's not telling the truth, why can't we just let her be wrong? And I don't know, to me it sounds, I don't know, like a lot of people, it sounds cultish almost in a way. Like it's beyond me. I don't understand why people would want to be lied to all the time. Like I can understand you're watching something on TV and it's fake and it's, it's juicy and it's like, oh, that storyline is great. But we are talking about like real people. Like this person, Carrie's going to bring up the Hamptons to Seth Dillon, like what happened at the Hamptons, which was a rumor that Candace Owens, I don't think she invented it, but she did push it. The conspiracies about what happened in the Hamptons, like it happened. It was a trip with Charlie Kirk that happened obviously before he died, but there's this narrative that evolved like right after his death, as they were trying to implicate Israel and Jews somehow. So Seth Dillon got pulled into it, and other folks as well, and people debunked that stuff. But it's not okay to accuse like Bill Ackman and Seth Dillon or Josh Hammer of having something to do with their with their friend's murder, or to have these sort of allegations and implications that are thrown out there. So people might be watching this stuff and saying, oh, it's entertaining, but there's real people who are being harmed. And I don't understand that. I know there's a lot of people that I know, not just people that follow me and we have like overlap. There's people that I know in my personal life that I've debated and argued with about her content. And when I really, really push them, like, can we address these lies? Can we, like, they just kind of want to let it go because they want to just keep following. But I don't understand. and no one can explain it in a way that makes sense. So anyway, I said this the title of this particular video because I said she was a super fan because she decided to she said that she watched Candace every day. But before I play the clip of Josh Hammer, let me she had someone had pointed out that she had did a TikTok where she was just kind of pacing around her house, me all day waiting for my girl Candace to get back from her meeting with TP USA, like and this is like, I think when she met with Erica, so you're pacing around as if Erica was going to murder her Candace Owens while they were in a meeting together. And this is the kind of person who's on this religious liberty committee. Now, someone said something about like, oh gosh, the Trump people really need to do vetting better. And someone that I follow was like, if y'all don't think that this person was vetted, y'all are crazy. There are people within Trump's circle who probably are not good for his overall agenda, but have particular motives as far as where they want the country to go after he is, no longer the president, that are fine with positioning people like her on such committees. And it's fine to have differences of opinions and diverse opinions on such committees, but it's the way that she was like interrogating people was also obviously not appropriate for the setting. And a lot of these people who are so against the focus on Israel, or how much they claim that Israel captures the world, they're the ones who are obviously obsessed about it nonstop. So anyway, I'll go ahead and play this clip with her talking to Seth Dillion, and probably like another clip that's kind of long. We'll start with this one.
I would really appreciate it if you would stop calling Candace Owens an anti-Semite. She's not an anti-Semite. She just doesn't support Zionism, and that really has to stop.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know why you keep bringing her up and Tucker.
Well, because they're the two most famous anti-Semites.
There you go again. Yeah. Everyone's an anti-Semite. Everyone's an anti-Semite, I guess. So if you don't support Zionism, you just said you're not an anti-Semite, yet Candace is an anti-Semite.
I think she goes far beyond not merely supporting Zionism. She calls Jews the synagogue of Satan. She denigrates anyone who, she often uses the word Zionist and the word Jew interchangeably. At one point, she slipped up and used the word Jew, and someone said, oh, you're not saying Zionist anymore? She's like, no, gloves are off.
So do you think saying Christ is king is anti-Semitic?
No, Christ is king.
Amen.
Christ is my king. He's the king of the universe.
So that's what started the whole thing with her, right?
But, my thing with her. Yeah, Christ, what I explained to her, and this is what she considered this deep betrayal, was simply that the phrase Christ is king has been, admittedly by many, co-opted for the purpose of identifying with a Groyper movement and putting the Jews in their proper place to show them that they are other than. And they will use...
And by the way, this is like undisputed. This is something that Candace knows and something that Nick Fuentes has admitted. As a matter of fact, there was a space on X that was held by Lauren Chen, and Nick was on there. And Nick at the time was very pro Candace because she was just coming out against the Jews a lot and stuff. He eventually was like, okay, she's dumb and she doesn't do good research and she's making us look bad. So now he mocks her a lot now. But they've been frenemies. But at the time, I don't think he was allowed back on X. So he was at that particular moment. So his profile was Candace Stan or something like that in the chat. But he was talking to Jeremy Boring because Jeremy Boring came in the chat, and he admitted, Nick did, that when people say Christ is king, I just assume that everyone knew that was Groypers. Like, that's our thing. Like, they use it to be distinct, to be like, no, you can't just say you love God. You got Jesus is king. Jesus is king of America. And because that distinguishes us from, other folks. And he criticized him for having a Jew be the face of the Daily Wire, and they don't believe people who don't adhere to their particular ideology should have, I guess, roles of power and other things like that. So you could see all kinds of videos with Nick speaking at places, and he'll say that he loves Hitler, and then the crowd will erupt in Christ is King. And so that's their motto. I don't think it has anything to do with actual reverence and affection toward Christ in a way that you glorify him or uplift the kingdom of heaven or anything like that. But I've seen many people say Christ is king and then use it in a way to be cruel to Jewish people. An example that I use often is there's a picture of Ben Shapiro's sister who looks they look a lot alike, but in my opinion, not as much as him and Brett Cooper, but but she's holding her baby. And someone said, careful that you don't poke its eye out. Christ is king. So people say, you filthy Jew, Christ is king. And so to say Christ is king, Seth is like, Christ is king. I believe that, like, absolutely. But there are people who are taking God's name in vain and using it for nefarious purposes. And Candace is aware of that. And especially, she said that she listened to the live and she really defended Nick after she listened to that live, even though he said things that were pretty eyebrow raising. But anyway, let's listen.
Use the phrase in very, very nasty context, like I cited in my statement earlier. Christ is king, you dirty Jew. I've had that told to me dozens of times. Do you think that that's anti-Semitic?
Of course.
Okay, so the phrase...
no, not the Christ is king part, but the you dirty Jew.
Right. So
I say Christ is king all the time. I'm not an anti-Semite.
Right, and I don't think that makes you an anti-Semite.
Thank you.
I'm talking about how the phrase can be abused. So there's plenty of ways to use that phrase in a certain context or paired with other sentiments that make it clear that that person doesn't actually believe Christ is king. You can't say Christ is king, you dirty Jew, and call yourself a Christian. Christians worship a Jew. It's just absurd. So, but no, the phrase itself, and this is what I actually said in my comments, the phrase is not anti-Semitic. I declare it with humility and reverence myself. It's the abuse of the phrase. Just like when someone takes the Lord's name in vain, you should find that objectionable as a Christian. I hope that you do. Someone saying something like that in that context to a Jewish person for the purpose of treating them as other than or excluded or, to disparage them in some way, that is using the Lord's name in an abusive manner. It's exploiting it for political reasons or just for the sake of promoting hatred. And I find that repulsive.
So anti-Semitism to you is mostly speech, correct?
I didn't say that, no. I don't know where you got that.
But for someone to say Christ is king on their social media platform, would you label that an anti-Semitic if you're looking into the context of what they're saying it, or if they just say it, Christ is king, like
it could be. You have to
that?
Look at the context. Yeah.
But I would say that's anti-Christian if you're analyzing why I'm saying Christ is king.
No, saying the phrase Jesus Christ
so stupid
is not taking the Lord's name in vain.
He just literally explained different context of people saying this phrase, Christ is king, you dirty Jew, like saying stuff like that. And she's saying, well, if you analyze why I'm saying it, then that's anti-Christian. Why'd you add you dirty Jew afterwards? Like, so if you just say that phrase, no one is supposed to, I don't know, use discernment, judge a tree by its fruit. Like we're not supposed to think at all. We're not supposed to question you. Even if you plainly state your intentions afterwards, it's it's so dumb and desperate.
Unless you're doing it in a certain context, right? There's context matters.
Yeah, so going back to Candace Owens.
Someone in the background is like, this is not hard. This is not hard.
When she worked for Daily Wire, your friend Ben fired her because she said Christ is king.
And I never said that what she said was anti-Semitic.
Okay, but you're calling her an anti-Semite.
Oh.
Okay, hold on. Ben, at that point in time when she got fired, did not have the power to fire Candace. And if he did, then he, I don't know, might have did this sooner, but I don't know. But he didn't have that power. And again, remind you, her lawyer, after the Kanye West drama and the anti-Semitic stuff that he had, well, the DEFCON 3 or whatever, or 5, or on the Jews, whatever he said in comments she made, like in defense of, she did an episode defending Kanye and stuff. There was drama. And so they built it into her contract, I guess when they were going to renew or whatever, that if she said something that was anti-Semitic in the view of like a reasonable person, then they could let her go. So they built that into her contract. So part of me questions, because it could have been a surprise. Now, the Christ is King comment. She didn't just say Christ is King. She continues to lie about this over and over and over and over again, even though her original tweets still exist. Candace Owens, I've showed you guys this before. I have videos on it, and I've done multiple videos on it. I've talked about it in lives and so on. She was going back and forth with Ben. They were in a tiff because he didn't like her commentary about October the 7th, which she was saying dumb stuff, and she was being coy with the genocide tweet and all kinds of other stuff. We don't have to totally rehash that, but he had called her faux sophisticated, and they got into it on X because she didn't at him, but she listed some scripture. She listed some from the Beatitudes, but then she jumped in the next chapter. She didn't separate them and say they're different chapters. She didn't even list the verses, but she's like, blessed, are the peacemakers. But she also said, in the next chapter, there's a verse about serving two masters. So I always question, like, why'd you put in the comment about serving two masters? So everyone, without Ben saying anything, is assuming it's about Ben. Now, she would claim that it wasn't about Ben or she wasn't attacking anybody, but she went on several different shows and even admitted on her own podcast that it was about the situation with Ben. So everyone knew it was about him. So he responded to her and said, if, the Daily Wire is keeping you from serving God or whatever, Candace, I'm paraphrasing, then you can quit. And she responds to him and is like, how dare you suggest that scripture is about you and or tell me that I can't quote scripture. That's what she said. Then the Bible's not about you. And she ended up saying Christ is King. And the Christ is King, it wasn't in a retweet. She had I think she had quote tweeted him and then put it at the bottom of the actual tweet. So even to this day, Candace Owens will be like, I never tweeted Christ is King at a Jew, when it was clearly in the sequence of a conversation with Ben. And so when she was questioned about it by Jeremy Boring, and she would be like, I never did that thing, even though, like, you can literally look at the tweet. You can literally look at the tweet. I can pull it up after we get done watching the Seth Dillion thing, but this particular clip. But that's not the only reason why she was let go. And I understand why a lot of people think that's the reason, because Andrew Klavan went on his show to talk about the Christ is King thing. That's not the only thing he mentioned, though. He mentioned how she did a segment on her show about Nazi book burning and was like, do you know what kind of books Nazis burn? They burn these really bad books. And I'm not saying that she said book burning is good, but she framed it as if they were just student activists taking out bad books, as opposed to the brown shirts being bad, evil people who wanted to burn things that they just opposed in general. And they didn't just burn bad, perverted psychiatry books or something. So, and then that was what her segment was about, but it was very odd. She also liked a tweet that said something about drinking Christian blood. And so there was a couple things, and Andrew Klavan mentioned what he saw as a misuse of Christ as King, because he is a Jew, but he is a Christian. He's got some interesting sort of other views and stuff, but he says he's a Christian. So that's not the only reason why she was let go. And we know that because Steven Crowder leaked the town hall that the Daily Wire put together explaining why she was fired. And we I don't know if we watched the whole thing together. We might have. I think we did. But just to recap, some of the anti-Semitic stuff were things that they viewed as anti-Semitic, sure, that contributed. And some other things that we haven't mentioned is her being on the Fresh and Fit podcast, and the people talking about Ben Shapiro's wife and them just making cha-ching noises and her just sitting there not saying anything. So that clip, which I hadn't seen actually until I watched that town hall, also contributed, right? But it was also her coverage of Andrew Tate, because she claimed that she wanted to do an interview with them, and they're like, we don't want you to rehabilitate a pornographer, like a terrible person who's been accused of all these. We don't want our company to do that. And she's like, no, I'm going to do like hard hitting, like really fair, like questions about the cases against him. So she went ahead and had the interview, and of course it was a softball. And at the end of the day, Jeremy Boring explained that Candace Owens was harming the reputation of the Daily Wire, because a lot of people were looking at them sideways, like, why are you not saying anything about Candace? Why are you not doing anything about Candace? She's on your payroll. Like, what is going on? And they are correct. She was messing with the reputation of the Daily Wire. And it was more than just her commentary on Israel. It was more than her commentary on October the 7th. It was more than just Zionism. And it was more than just Christ is King. So I just wanted to get that straight to these Candace Owens stands like Carrie here, who keep trying to make that be the thing. And even after the whole entire town hall was leaked, Candace Owens retweeted it, and she still, like, all she had to talk about and respond to was the Christ is King thing, and she still denied what she did. So la delusional worlds that her and a lot of her followers live in, but there's a truth that I just stated to you guys.
Oh yes, because she said way worse than that.
Okay, let's move on, because everyone seems to be obsessed with.
It's anti-Semitic.
Okay, but you're calling her an anti-Semite.
Oh yes, because she said way worse than that.
Okay, let's move on, because everyone seems to be obsessed with Candace. My last question: why were you at the Hamptons?
Can you just real quick?
Why were you at the Hamptons?
Do you think that anything Candace has said is anti-Semitic?
No, I don't.
Nothing ever. That's
No.
interesting.
I mean, I listen to her daily.
You should look up more.
I haven't heard one thing out of her mouth that I would say is anti-Semitic.
Not when she calls them filth, not when she says that they're controlling everything. not when she says stuff like that they hate Black people, and that they think people that they want to rule everybody, and like all kinds of different conspiracies that she has, that they worship Satan, and like none of it is anti-Semitic. So we'll get to another clip, but I found a montage today. I'm not gonna play it because but it was a montage that Milk Bar TV did, and they just compared. They had a montage of different stuff that Candace Owens has said about the Jews over the years, and just compared it to like Nazi propaganda. It's really well done. I just would rather not play it today, but when I did go to the Holocaust Museum in Israel, and we were walking through the propaganda and the sorts of things that people were saying about the Jews, and how it eventually rose up to be what occurred into to be the Holocaust. I was thinking about different rhetoric and propaganda that is being pushed nowadays. Am I saying that we're about to have another Holocaust or something? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that it could never happen again, I guess, but it just didn't make me think about how those sorts of evils can rise up and how slowly they rise up when people, especially not enough good people, push back on this stuff. She at the very end, I'm gonna play this while I find the tweet that I wanted to show you guys. But she had asked about the Hamptons thing, and Candace Owens retweeted it. And Seth was like, "Thank you for sharing my post, which demonstrates that nothing I said contradicted anything I said previously." And so she has a little snippet of him talking about the Hamptons thing, but he's going to explain a little bit. So I'll go ahead and play it.
The Hamptons meeting was a retreat called by Charlie. It was. I don't know if many of you are familiar with this. So I'll give you a little context, but there was a claim that was made that an intervention was staged with Charlie, where people pulled him into a room in a very aggressive manner, pressured and blackmailed him because they felt like he was straying away from his support for Israel. That was the claim. The Hamptons retreat, and that was the Hamptons retreat was characterized that way. It was not like that. There were about 30 people there, handpicked and invited by Charlie personally. He brought us there. He stood at the front of the room with a microphone throughout the thing. The theme of it was Save the West. His primary focus was on the threat of Islam, the problem of Islam. There was heated and spirited debate about the issue of Israel in the room, but it was debate that Charlie himself initiated, and he wanted to hear different perspectives on it. And so we voiced a lot of our perspectives. One of the things that I disagreed with him on was he said that, you know, if you're not sufficiently supportive of Israel, it can be really ruinous for you in a position like his.
Yeah.
If you criticize Israel at all, they'll try to, denigrate you and destroy you and call you names, call you anti-Semitic, etc. And it can ruin you. And I said, yeah, certainly that's true, but it can also be very costly to stand up to those people.
So that's where she cut off that clip of Seth. But he's Charlie was correct that you can face a lot of blowback, especially from there's actually a lot of pro-Israel people who are frustrated with pro-Israel people for being so aggressive, because if there is some kind of criticism, they will just pounce and just sometimes overreact on stuff. But there are obviously a lot of bad actors out there that do need to be called out. Some of them are pretty slimy, like for example, Tucker Carlson, when he brought up the conspiracy to kill Jesus at Charlie's memorial, and he said a comment about, like, I just thinking about them, being together, eating hummus and so on, as they, plotted to kill Jesus and stuff. And so there's all these pro-Israel folks who are upset and like, oh my gosh, he's using this opportunity to bash Jews for killing Jesus, and that's why he said the thing about the hummus. And so Tucker Carlson was like, oh, I can't believe people think this about me, and it's so controversial. I'm just talking about the Bible, and oh my gosh, and but on his show, he's referenced like hummus eaters talking about Jews and stuff, so he has that connection. But when he tried to feign ignorance, he's like, hummus, that's not even a Jewish thing, which in Israel, we ate a lot of hummus. We did eat a lot of hummus. And oh gosh, and the bread was so good. Everything was so fresh, so wonderful. Such good bread and hummus. But he did make that connection. But I knew it was sly enough that people are gonna be like, that I figured he did that on purpose, but it was a trap because I knew the people who were going to attack him were going to look like they were just really over aggressive and overly sensitive. So you gotta sometimes your haters are really smart, and you gotta be careful. Anyway, this Crisis King thing. Let me share my screen. So this is an article I wrote some time ago about the weaponization of Crisis King. Like, here's a tweet with Ben Shapiro's sister with a baby. And she's just a sweet, wholesome picture with her and her baby. And someone's like, nice nose, careful you don't poke the baby's eye out. Also, Crisis King. Like, why would you add the Crisis King part to a Jewish woman while she's just playing with her baby? Obviously, you're talking about attacking her and stuff, and it's just not appropriate if you claim to love God. And so Candace Owens was really trying to frame the Crisis King thing as, she said any and every scenario is appropriate for me to state I am a woman. It does not become transphobic if I declare the truth in presence of a man who thinks he's a woman. So that's what she tried to kind of compare with the Christians using the logic of it's wrong to say Christ is king. And it's not wrong to say Christ is king, but people can see how some folks are using it, like this example here. And Inspiring Philosophy had great commentary on it. David Wood, I think he did a video. I don't think he did a tweet about it, but he said people are using Christ is king sort of like BLM. Like, he's like, do Black Lives matter? Like, of course they matter, but they're using it as some kind of political tool. And if you don't say it that particular way, then you would get attacked. Like, someone was talking to Jack Posobiec, and they're like, do you believe Christ is king? And they're like, yeah, Jesus is king. And they're like, no, say it like that. Say Christ is king. So it's like, well, if you say Jesus is king, that's how is that any different to say Christ is king? But you wanted to say it that particular way because there is all this kind of political drama associated with it. And that we shouldn't be using that as some kind of political tool, but unfortunately it is for a lot of people. So like, here's the blessed is a peacemaker stuff. People obviously knew it was about Ben before she posted it, because they have this crazy thing like give us Barabbas and so on, and people are like, just say what you want to say, Candace. And so eventually it came to a head. And so he had said, Candace, we feel like taking money from the Daily Wire. That's a tweet I told you guys about. Is taking, if it's coming between you and God, you can go ahead and quit. And then she said, you are utterly out of line for suggesting that I cannot quote biblical scripture, which he did not do. And she said, the Bible is not about you. And obviously the tweet was about him, though. And so we're not dumb. And then she said, Christ is king. So to this day, she will deny that she was using Christ is king in an argument with a Jew. But this is embedded on my site. These tweets actually still exist. And people pretending like that is the sole reason why she got fired. It's not true. And she won't even correctly characterize the situation. Now, the Hamptons situation that Carrie asked about, that Seth replied to and explained it. The whole intervention thing, people who were there denied that it happened in the way that Candace and other people were pushing that it was happening. You had other influencers who were there who denied that it happened the way that they were claiming. You had people from Turning Point USA who were there who denied that it happened in the way that Candace was suggesting. And she was also pushing a conspiracy about Bibi Netanyahu offering like $2 million to do like anti-Tucker stuff, which is funny because she eventually said on her show, like, I don't even know where this rumor came from, when she herself said the rumor on her show. I don't know if she specifically said 2 million on her show, she said a lot of money, but she certainly tweeted about the $2 million. So I think the number was 2 million, but it was I believe it was 2 million. So that was also not true, and she tried to backtrack it and pretend like she never said the thing that she said. So this was right after Charlie had was killed, and she was pushing these conspiracies with Bill Ackman, pushing conspiracies with Seth Dillion. So Seth Dillion being very engaged and pushing back a lot on Candace Owens, which I think the reason why Candace Owens wanted to go after him so strongly is because he was willing to speak up. I think she's really offended by the people who mock her as well. And Seth Dillion is with the Babylon Bee. And, she really doesn't seem to like people mocking her like that. But she didn't appreciate his pushback on Crisis King and other stuff like that. So she made him a target. Josh Hammer also debunked some things about Candace Owens' narratives regarding Israel and Charlie, or the Charlie text and things like that. So she helped to attack Josh Hammer, and implied that he had foreknowledge of Charlie's murder before he died. So if you are a Candace fan, why are you okay with these sorts of allegations that she's been throwing out at people for a long time? It's not just Erica Kirk or people within Turning Point USA. And she really harms people, real life people who have family and friends and livelihoods. So someone was arrested for threatening Seth Dillion. And they were believed a bunch of crazy conspiracies and stuff that Candace was pushing. I'm not saying that they got them specifically from her. I would assume that's the case, but I don't know if that's the case. But these are real people who are in danger by all of these sorts of crazy lies that they push. And Candace Owens has said a lot of really terrible things. She got really mad at Ben Shapiro after AmFest and just had total mask off moments. For people to pretend like she hasn't said things that were anti-Semitic is just insane to me. It's just totally dishonest. Excuse me. Now, if you ask, like, is she anti-Semitic? Ben Shapiro has actually said, Seth will say it, like, yeah, she's anti-Semitic. Ben is like, I don't even think that word is useful anymore. I don't know if she has actual hatred in her heart towards people. I don't think you have to have like hate. I mean, I suppose anti-Semitism, and when you boil it down, is Jew hatred. Racism is like some kind of superiority or an inferiority or whatever. But anti-Semitism at its core is Jew hatred. I don't know if she has like real animosity towards the Jews, or if she's just willing to say all this stuff for clicks. It could be that case, that she has some of these feelings herself, but I don't know. But I know the things that she says are not good. I know the things that she says are evil. And the fact that she's willing to do them, for whether it's for financial gain or whatever, I suppose is evil itself, and perhaps evil enough. And her actions are what's important. And as far as her heart, that's between her and God. But we can look at the tree and judge the fruit. There was another clip that I wanted to show. It's kind of long though. But I'll try not to interrupt too much. I want to play this Megyn Kelly thing too. And it's also about Candace and some commentary that she had, but we won't talk too long about Megyn Kelly. But
Thank you. Mr. Frank, this is for you. You described very painful experiences at UCLA, and I take that very serious. At the same time, many of the students who I've spoken to personally who created those encampments say that they were protesting the killing of tens of thousands of Palestinian civilians in Gaza and their university's financial ties to that war. So I need to ask you, in a country built on religious liberty in the First Amendment, do you believe someone can stand firmly against anti-Semitism, including what you experienced, and at the same time condemn the mass killing of Palestinians in Gaza, or reject political Zionism, or not support the political state of Israel? Or do you believe that speaking out about what many Americans view as genocide in Gaza should be treated as anti-Semitic? Because in my view, the United States cannot and must not make loyalty to a particular theology about Israel a litmus test for protected speech or moral legitimacy.
Now, just FYI, if people are testifying about how Jewish students are harassed on college campuses, not allowed to go to class, barricaded in classes, all kinds of, their safety is not guaranteed. If that's what people are talking about, and you're like, yeah, but they were protesting against genocide in Gaza, like, so so you don't have a right to act crazy when you protest. You don't. You have the right to peacefully assemble, and you have to do it in a reasonable time and places and so on. You don't have the right to obstruct other people from exercising. You don't have the right to infringe on other people like that. You can believe whatever you want to believe and express those views and have your First Amendment privileges protected. But there are other victims here, Miss Palestinian flag pin lady. By the way, she keeps talking about how she's Catholic. I'm not. I think that she's also a recent convert. I have to double check that, but not that invalidates her Catholicism, but she's very much like, Catholics believe this, Catholics believe all Catholics. I'm like, do you know that for sure?
Charlie Kirk said that Jew hate is brain rot. Some people don't have brains. I'm not going to assist them in setting a double standard for the Israeli government and the Jewish people as they fight to defend themselves. These were students calling for intifada within days after October 7th, before Israel had even entered Gaza. So it's not about them and their using Palestinian civilian death, which is horrendous and horrible. They're using it.
By the way, people were immediately Israel bad in the situation, and I'm not pro killing all the people, but they kind of deserved it. Was a mentality. There was that Harvard, I think it was the Harvard letter that went around that Candace defended all the students and stuff on the list as people were saying we shouldn't hire these folks. She was like, how dare you do that? And Candace Owens, right after October the 7th, she had on Norman Finkelstein, who said that October the 7th warmed his heart. So, I just want to remind folks that there's a lot of people right off the bat who were ready to attack Israel immediately after Israel was attacked so horrifically. If you go to the Nova Festival site, people, I went in November, so we're like a few years removed from what happened. People just still there, just weeping, just crying, just devastated about what happened. Still wanting people and at that point in time, the hostages had come home and they were waiting for, I think, 4 bodies. And by the time I left, there was 3 bodies. Now all the bodies have been returned to the Jewish people, but people still just so devastated by this tragedy. And that's with some time passed. And immediately People were acting crazy right after it had happened. People tearing down images of missing babies across the country, like just devastatingly like evil images and actions by people who just hated Jewish people so much. People celebrate BLM organizations celebrating the paratroopers that came in and shot people down and killed them. Just insane stuff. So people were ready to condemn Israel before they even really launched their countermeasures and really engaged in the war. And people who always had bad intentions and were always going to see Israel as the oppressors, and they view them as the colonizers, and they're bad. They view them as the whites, and the Arabs are the browns, and that's just how they view the world in their power dynamic scheme.
As a prop, and it doesn't matter. My religious beliefs are violated. You don't get to block me because I'm Zionist and a Jew. You want to protest Israel? Great, 100% go ahead and do it. But the university let them wear masks, even though there's a mask ban. They violated all time, place, and manner restrictions, amplified sounds. It went on for years. They kept doing this time after time again. And that's what the judge saw and said, that's not okay. They can protest, they can't block Jews, and you can't assist them in doing it.
I'm really grateful that we're having this discussion, because I think this is a topic that is really affecting so many Americans. Rabbi Shapiro, he's based in New York. I invited him here today, but he's not here today. He says, and I would love your opinion on this, American Jews are increasingly treated as less fully American, our loyalty questioned, our belonging made conditional, because Zionist ideology falsely claims Israel is the nation state of Jews everywhere, and that every Jew is nationally tied to it. He says, this framing is anti-Semitic at its core. It strips us of our identity as Americans, recasts us as foreigners in our own country, and arms anti-Semites with accusations of divided loyalties and collective guilt for actions we neither chose nor control. No other foreign country does this. No sovereign state claims to politically represent an entire worldwide group defined by religion or heritage and bind its members to its deeds. Yet Jews alone bear this unique, unjust burden. That dangerous lie must be rejected openly and firmly. The remedy is clear: civic education that teaches unconditional American belonging through citizenship alone, not ethnicity, heritage, or any fabricated foreign tie. We are Americans, full stop, and we reject any doctrine that treats us otherwise. Would you say that statement is anti-Semitic?
What I'll say is that Natan Sharansky says there's three things that you shouldn't do with Israel. You shouldn't delegitimize it, you shouldn't demonize it, and you shouldn't apply a double standard. You can abide by those three things, you're not anti-Semitic.
So by not being a Zionist, does that make you an anti-Semite?
I don't think you need to be a Zionist to support a country that defends itself and is free and religious in a hostile neighborhood.
So is anti-Zionism
Hold on
anti-Semitism?
one second, Carrie.
Yes.
It is. It is.
Sorry.
Yes.
To take that point for a second.
Let me back up. I didn't want to step over that answer. I didn't know you were still, both of you, still talking. So
Just to be clear, is anti-Zionism anti-Semitism?
Yes.
It is under IHRA?
Rabbi,
Sure.
you're up next.
You're not
That
sure?
definition,
So
but
what is the
I would
definition?
love to speak to that. Undoubtedly, anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism, and undoubtedly, and one does not have to support the specific policies of the government of Israel, but to not support the right of Israel to exist, which is what anti-Zionists do, while not taking that same stand to the 28 Muslim countries and 13 Christian countries in this world, is a double standard, is hypocrisy, and is absolutely anti-Semitism.
I think it's also important that we not make Islamophobic remarks while we're here today. I would appreciate that.
What was Islamophobic? What was Islamophobic about those comments? Like, what was Islamophobic about those comments that they just said? Just treat everybody the same. Don't have a double standard toward Israel. Well, I would appreciate we weren't Islamophobic today. Like, and look at her. She understands the game. She understands what she's doing. And again, she you know, has a lot of, I assume, gropers and people who call themselves America First or whatever, and other Candace stands who have flooded into X to follow her and say, yes, queen, all this stuff. But it's such obvious idiocy. So obvious.
I just want to
Since this
say,
is a religious liberty hearing.
God forbid was anything like that said. But if the Jewish people are the only people that you deny the right to have its own state, that is absolutely a double standard, hypocrisy, and anti-Semitism.
Well, as you know, I'm a Catholic, and Catholics do not embrace Zionism, just so you know. So are all Catholics anti-Semites, according to you?
As I said, anti-Zionism, by denying the right of the Jews to have their own state while not saying the same for any other peoples, that is a double standard, hypocrisy, and anti-Semitism.
So just to be clear, are Catholics anti-Semites?
Carrie, excuse me. I'm going to interrupt the discussion. Our committee is focused on religious liberty taken from all people, whether they be Muslims, Jews, Christians, Sikhs. We've had all those witnesses here. This is not a commission on defining religions or calling out any theology, or this is not the commission for that.
Right, but we're talking about a foreign nation, so I want to be clear on what the definition.
We're talking about a foreign nation. By the way, she has that Palestinian pin on her chest.
Of anti-Semitism is, if I don't support the political state of Israel, am I an anti-Semite? Yes or no?
They already answered, asked and answered.
According to you on the record, yes? I don't support the political state of Israel?
I don't personally label people. But what I'm saying is, if somebody states if somebody says they're an anti-Zionist, they are saying about themselves that they have a double standard and hypocrisy, and they're taking anti-Semitic positions.
Okay. Carrie, you feel like you have your questions in?
I don't agree with that, because as a Catholic, I don't agree that the new modern state of Israel has any biblical prophecy meaning at all. So that's my stance, and I'm Catholic.
Yeah. Dr. Ben.
First of all, I want to thank you all for your passionate.
Yes, so she let me retract. I don't see actually the pin on that actual clip. So let me retract that. Let me retract that. But I don't think it's fair for her to speak for all Catholics and Catholic doctrine like that. Do they hold views that other Christians have about Israel and the role of Jews today, or how the Revelation plays out, the book of Revelations, or whatever? People have all kinds of different theological opinions, but what people might view as like a Zionist Christian sort of view isn't what they're even talking about. They're talking about the state of Israel itself having a right to exist. And if you are against this particular kind of state existing, as opposed to other nations that have similar kind of situations existing, or ideologies, or being some kind of nation that has a religious ideology that defines it, and it's only Israel that is wrong, people ask, why do you have a double standard? Why is just the Jewish state is the only one that isn't allowed to exist? And by the way, they are, from my time there, there's a lot of Muslims obviously who live there, a lot of Arabs who live there, and Druze who live there, and there's Christians who live there, and at the the Jewish people, including ones who were attacked on October the 7th, seem to be pretty darn tolerant, because we had asked one person, like, so how do you feel about how Islam has played into like the attack? And they're just kind of like, well, they're born into that family. I was born into this family, and Christians are, born in that family. So that's just how people kind of become religious. And I don't think Christians really accept that particular phrasing, because that one way or another, even if you grow up in a Christian household, you yourself have to convert. You're not just born into and like you are a Christian. I know people will claim that I went to church, I was made to go to church, and I grew up as a Christian. Okay, but if you didn't accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, and you don't believe that he died on the cross for your sins and repent of all that stuff, blah 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 blah, then you're not a Christian. Like, you have to actually buy in yourself. It doesn't matter what your parents force. So we rejected that sort of phrasing or whatever, and we're just like, no, that's not how it works. But it just kind of amazed me, because in different circumstances with different people and conversations, people didn't seem to be harsh on like the whole kill the infidel sort of mentality. It's just like, no, we're all cool. I'm like, okay, if you say so. So I thought they were pretty darn tolerant of different peoples. Oh, okay. No, okay. Okay. I have to retract my retraction of the pin, because I was watching the clip and I'm like, I don't see the pin anymore. Was that still? But she confirmed it was real. Let me show the tweet. Where's it? Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. Hold on. She tweeted about it herself. Here we go. I put it on after realizing this was a pro-Zionist, pro-Israel hearing silencing and not allowing Palestinian voices to the table. So, yeah. So she did actually wear that pin. So, yeah. I don't know how you can be a Candace stan and pretend though that or Tucker Carlson's newsletters, like he'll say on a show, like, people who are still talking about Israel are just obsessed and stuff. But he writes about Israel all the time in his newsletters and will stand for Iran and Qatar and other kind of stuff. But he'll down Israel all the time. And then he just had, after like 2 days after he said a comment about like, oh, trashing people who are still talking about Israel, I think he had Cenk Uygur on to talk about Israel. So these people are pretty shameless with a lot of their commentary. Anyway, very quickly, let's talk about Megyn Kelly, because I'm over on my time that I usually talk every day. So Megyn Kelly was on Piers Morgan's show, and he asked her about Candace, and she pushed back hard and about her lack of criticism toward Candace. And then she's like, well, you're the one who actually has her on, and people were attacking her because of Israel and blah, 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 blah.
Candace Owens, you've been very supportive of her, not critical, even though she, I would argue, and I have to her face when I've had her on the show, well, I get on well with Candace, but some of the stuff she's been doing in relation to Erica Kirk, Brigitte Macron, and others, I do think is really regrettable, kind of conspiracy theory nonsense just for clicks and money. Why would you hesitate before criticizing her over stuff like that?
I've criticized Candace many times over the years. We've had many public fights over the years. But isn't it interesting that you will, quote, platform Candace? She hasn't been on my show in several years, but I get all the hard time. Why am I getting that? You're the one, quote, platforming Candace Owens. She and I don't have that kind of relationship. Candace took a bunch of crap because she was very anti-Israel in the Gaza war. And it became a thing where you had to say she was terrible in her positioning. And then after Charlie died, she started questioning whether Israel had any role in it. And that's when they really tried to amp up the pressure on me to condemn her. And I refused, because Charlie was starting to have serious questions about Israel, not just its role in the Gaza war, but its influence on American politicians, something he and I spent hours and hours discussing. So I had no problem with Candace Owens asking those questions. And I refused to condemn her because I was under pressure from these people who wanted me to. And then that morphed into then everything Candace said thereafter, with which I may or may not have had serious problems, that I had to, where's the condemnation? And it was all really about the Israel thing. And I'd rather die than bend the knee to these people. I'd rather die than bend the knee. It won't happen. I didn't raise my fist and say BLM, and I'm not going to condemn the people they want me to condemn just so that I can get a little pat on their head, on my head from them. It's not important to me. What's important to me is I live free.
Okay. Yeah, you didn't raise your fist to BLM, but you sure did do an episode on your show about transing the kids, Megyn Kelly. Okay, so first of all, sometimes I don't like when Candace goes on Piers Morgan's show, because I don't think he's prepared enough for her. He's definitely pushed back on her where it didn't end up looking great, for sure. But you know, I just think if you're gonna have them on, you need to be really kind of prepared. And I don't think he's always up to the task. But Piers Morgan will have anyone on his show. It's pretty much a political Jerry Springer. And yeah, so I've got, opinions about how he conducts his program, but he does things for ratings. I'm not saying that he adjusts his opinions and stuff for ratings, but who he'll have on, and the sort of arguments, especially the free for all arguments where there's like 4, 5, 6 people like yelling at each other. Obviously, I think a political Jerry Springer is a good sort of way to describe what Piers Morgan does all the time. So I don't really think that's the same as his show is the same as like Megyn, for example. Now Megyn being like, I've criticized Candace for years. I've criticized Candace for years. Yeah, that's why it was puzzling that she wouldn't criticize Candace and had this really, really soft approach to criticizing her. And I just kind of got whiplash watching that clip, because she was all like, oh, well, Candace is a mother. I don't really know her and all this stuff. So here's a little compilation.
It's my prerogative if I say to myself, that is not someone I wish to attack. Candace is a young mom of like 3 young kids.
Is that what Candace is accusing Erica of?
Yes.
Of murdering her own husband? And I have since learned it is not true. Candace has not made that claim. She's specifically been defending Erica Kirk. Go fuck yourselves. Go fuck yourselves. You have no fucking clue what's going on. You don't know what I do behind the scenes. I really fully believe God's role for me here is to possibly play a role in getting this whole thing to a better place.
Put it at a percentage that you saw that the girl in the ponytail matches the description of Erica Kirk. What percentage would you put that at?
That's 95 to 99%. That was that person. They were there.
Tried to be
that guy there, by the way. Candace Owens had him on after she believed that God led her to an email with him reaching out to her. And he accused Erica Kirk and some other folks of being at a meeting arranged to discussing, the actual assassination of Charlie Kirk. So it just got more radical after the meeting that she had with Erica, the one that Megyn Kelly. See, you gotta be careful when you just be throwing God in it everywhere. Like I love the Lord, I love to talk about him, but like I believe my God's role in this is to facilitate blah blah. Okay, well, I guess you failed. So why are you like still quiet about all this stuff? If you fail, like you don't want to fix it, you don't want to do any kind of correction. Like, okay, so but I guess we don't have to watch the whole entire. I guess we will.
Service. I spoke with Candace too and was honest with her. And I've learned a lot about what's being done to Candace by some of the people we've been discussing.
Yep.
And it's disgusting. And I'm horrified by what she's been put through. So I'm really just not in the mood. I'm not her policeman. I don't want to be her policeman. You don't like her, don't click on her face.
You can even check out this clip, which is that her in a car. Stacey, just everywhere. On the phone, Stacey is there capturing every moment. Me, I needed my sister to fly in to be by my side, husband, cousin. Erica needed the head of gifts and donations.
And I refused to condemn her because I was under pressure from these people who wanted me to.
Yeah, so but yeah, Candace is a mom and blah blah blah. And so I didn't understand why she wouldn't criticize Candace Owens when Candace Owens was saying all this kind of crazy stuff, because they've gotten into back and forth, including like after October the 7th in the only back and forth I can think of where they got publicly into a fight was, and I'm not saying there's not more, this is the only thing that I can think of, was when Candace Owens decided to stick up for the students who wrote a letter after October 7th. It was basically like, it's Israel's fault that happened. And Bill Ackman and other professionals were like, okay, we're not going to hire these people. And Candace Owens is like, that's not right. I used to have left-wing views. What if someone tried to cancel me? And so Megyn was sticking up for the position that, yeah, people can boycott them and not hire them if they don't want to. And so they're continuously going back and forth. That's the only thing I could think of as far as their fight. I'm not saying, I think they maybe got after it a little bit after that, carrying over, but that's the main thing I can think of. I can't think of other sort of public beefs that they had. But because she was willing to do that, I'm like, why isn't she saying anything about all this other stuff that Candace has been saying and doing? Now, when Ben Shapiro had that interview with Megyn, she was like she was a Tucker Carlson apologist, in defense of Tucker Carlson. Just kept defending him nonstop. She's like, well, I don't need to debate for Tucker or whatever, but I thought her video was pretty shameful. But when he mentioned some stuff about Candace Owens and stuff she's been saying, she's like, she's really accusing Erica of being involved with Charlie's death. He didn't just mention Erica, he also mentioned Seth Dillion as well, and like other people. And then she got on her show, was like, Ben lied about that, which Ben did not lie. No, she didn't. She wasn't like word for word saying stuff, but people could guess that she was implicating Erica. But she definitely was accusing other people for being involved in the plot. She wasn't just narrowing it down to Israel either. So it wasn't just about Israel, but the stuff that she was saying was crazy. Now, what's really insane about all this is that she's like, well, I favored her asking the questions, and Charlie had things to say about Israel, so I'm fine with her talking about it, blah, blah, blah. She believes that Tyler Robinson did it. She believes that all the evidence points to Tyler Robinson. So if all the evidence points to Tyler Robinson, why would you want people to push conspiracies like this? Because if it was Israel, then it wasn't Tyler Robinson. Like, it's a pretty clear cut. He didn't like Charlie. He was dating a dude who says he's a woman. He said his stuff was hateful. His DNA, his prints, his grandpa's gun. They have video footage of the scene. They got messages and all kinds of different stuff. Like, there's motivation, weapon, DNA, all the stuff. Parents being like, yep, turn yourself in, kiddo. Family being, yep, he hated Charlie's guts. Everything pointing to him. I'm not saying we know everything about it, but it's pretty clearly him. And people throwing all these other conspiracies everywhere. Why, if she knows the truth or believes that she knows the truth, why is she okay with everyone pushing all kinds of crazy conspiracies? Why? There was someone who's close to me like right after, she didn't believe that a picture of Tyler looked like Tyler when his glasses and other stuff were in like different pictures, and he looked like his dad and stuff from like other photos. And I just knew that photo was him. And she's like, I don't think that photo looks like him. And I started getting angry because I knew that there's conspiracies going around, and I'm just like, this is him. This is so I can't understand her again believing that it was Tyler, yet being cool for Candace saying, you know what, it's Israel, who cares? For someone who's supposed to do political commentary, people are supposed to trust you. And it's not the fact that I just don't want to talk about it. If you don't feel like talking about certain things, that's fine. That's fine. But to have all these excuses is insane. Oh, she's a mother. Oh, I favored her asking the questions. She didn't say that. And Tucker's crazy. Well, crazy is not fair. He says crazy conspiratorial lies all the time too. Yet they're all in some kind of crazy boat together. So her still going back to they're just mad because we wouldn't say stuff because she was saying stuff about Israel. It's not about Israel. She's the one who made it about Israel. She got so mad because Bibi Netanyahu said nice things about Charlie and said Charlie wrote me a letter. She got so mad about that and mischaracterized the letter. The letter comes out. Oh gosh, it's what Bibi said. And Charlie took the time to correct Israel and be like, y'all suck at comms, man. It was a very thoughtful letter, very truthful letter. And she mischaracterized it because she hates his guts, or she claims to hate his guts, and that's the shtick. And started pushing all these different conspiracies. Bill Ackman, Seth Dillion, Arnie, Josh Hammer. And that's not the end of it. Oh, there's people wearing maroon. Oh, it was hot, but this kid's wearing a green hoodie. Who is this kid? Let's find him. Like all kinds of nutty stuff. So Megyn is just donezo for me. No integrity at all. No integrity at all. I don't understand people. And she's a political commentator. Political commentators commentate on all kinds of stuff all the time. So Bim was just like, why don't you want to talk about it? And she's like, I'm not the mother of the internet. Just really bad excuses. Just really terrible excuses that didn't make any sense. Now if the answer was, if the answer was, I didn't care that much to really look into it, and I'm annoyed by people constantly asking about it. People might not like that answer, but that's a lot. That makes more sense than Candace is a mom. But I just don't see why you would favor them spreading conspiracy theories. That's the thing I don't understand. That's the thing I don't understand. Anyway, that's the show really for today. This Carrie lady, I don't know who within the Trump admin decided to put her on the panel. Very curious stuff going on, but she's also, saying the narratives about, the genocide, because someone said who vetted her, and she said vetting out those who speak about the genocide of Gaza or those who aren't Zionists aren't welcome on this commission. That defeats the purpose of diverse religious commission protecting religious freedom for all. I reject your Zionist supremacy in order to serve. Now, no, why did that even become such a major focus about the Zionism stuff? Because you that's where your heart is. Not the liberty thing, not even Jesus. It was the Zionism thing. It was protecting Candace Owens. And by the way, there was not a genocide in Gaza. You don't seem to know what that word means. Anyway, so was it late? But I made it. I never get to watch you live. I'm about to go though. I'm only here because I'm late. But thank you guys. I know not all of you can't watch live, and some of you watch back later and stuff. So thank you, as we used to say on Gulligan's Island, which I wasn't there, but it was a TV show I used to watch as a kid. Gullah Island. Anyway, thank you for being here today. Please go blacktnews.com, check out different content on the website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do, please consider leaving a donation on the website because it does cost a stream, run my site, all the stuff, so you guys can support. I very much do appreciate it and appreciate you guys. You guys can check out different merch also that's available on the website, different mugs and t-shirts and other things like that. So guys, go ahead and check that out, and different books as well. Like I have my picture book Bigger. There's a link in the description if you want to check that out. It's about a baby dinosaur who wants to be bigger. So after Black History Month, there is a March is reading month. Do kids still do that? Is that still a thing? That was a thing when I was a kid. March is reading month, and we'd have to read a certain amount of books, and then we could have a pizza party. So it's been a long time since I've been in school. So, but anyway, get some books for your kiddos. God bless you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.